Hi, my name's Dan Lawson, and I just wanted to kind of do a little video to explain who I am, what I do, kind of explain, what Catholic therapy is in my opinion, and how I operate, and how it might be a little different than what people are familiar with. I kind of want to introduce it to the community in a new way, an exciting way, because it's something that I'm passionate about. Now, just so that just a little background about me, I am a licensed mental health counselor, and I am in private practice out in New York State. And I started, to do Catholic therapy and work predominantly with Catholics in the community here. And that grew out of about a 5-year discernment with spiritual direction and conversations with a lot of my close friends and my wife. And so I just made a decision after almost 10 years in community mental health that it was time to kind of leave and focus on something that it seemed to be that God wanted me to do. Now, this might just be me and my ideas, and if they are, it'll completely fail. But if God really does want me to do this, well, then I guess nobody can stop him. So ask me in a year how it's going. People ask me all the time. Now, the whole idea of it being Catholic, well, Catholic means universal. And one of the beautiful things about the work that I do is I study what we call the universal goodness of people. It sounds simple, and as I kind of will talk about it, it's a little bit more complicated. It takes a lot of discipline, actually, because most of us, if we're honest, most of us are obsessed with who we're not. The screw-ups, the mistakes, the failures, the past, all of that stuff. And in that way, I felt called to kind of approach, a lot of this stuff, approach in a different way through therapy. What I had seen in community mental health in a lot of ways was that people analyzed problems, tried to solve them, and it created a lot of anxiety. Sometimes people get better, sometimes people don't. There's a lot of great people that help form me, and I have deep respect for all of them and the work that they're doing. But what I saw was that in general, it was very, the approach that I was doing, that I was taught by what we would call solution-focused practitioners, it was just very in contrast. And so, when as I kind of developing my own style of therapy and doing this work, I had to come up with how to explain it to people. And so people would ask me, they're like, well, what do you treat? What do you treat? And I would say, I treat amnesia. And people were like, what do you mean amnesia? Like, well, what is amnesia? Well, amnesia is forgetting. Okay. Well, in that way, when people forget who they are, they become who they're not. So my job is to help people remember who they are. Remember, people's identity can only really be understood, in relationship to God. We lose our identity the further away we get from God. We lose boundaries. We can't say no to things. Our identity gets eroded. Saying yes to everything makes us kind of, lose our bearings. We see this all the time. So in many ways, our identity as people can only be understood through our relationship with God. And God is infinitely good. And in each person, they have a soul. And that soul belongs to God. And in doing therapy with people, I wanted to find ways to access that resource. You figure that if there's an innate goodness in all people and each person has a soul, well, if we can access that, if we can get a relationship with that part of the person, or if the person can tap into that part of themselves, well, there's an incredible ability and resourcefulness and an ability, to get the life that they need, to become the best version of themselves, as Matthew Kelly would say. And so that's kind of how I started to operate. Now, the interesting thing about the work that I do is I spend most of my time both with my clients' strengths, my clients' successes, because essentially whatever we focus on gets bigger. And I told you before, my attention has to be disciplined to pay attention to those things. And in that way, it's incredibly simple. It's incredibly difficult. And then the second part is I kind of operate like a taxi cab driver, right? So if you've ever been in a taxi cab, when you get in, the cabbie will say to you, "Where to?" Same thing with me. You ever go into a cabbie and be like, "Where you been?" I personally I personally believe that people that meet with me are on a destination. They're going to be with me for a while. We're going to get them to where they need to be, but that's my job. So essentially, when I work with people, our focus is really on designing the future you want. And the interesting thing about designing the future you want is as you get into that, I don't really even need to know or understand someone's problem to help them. Because as we focus on what you do want, the side effect is that the things that you don't want get less attention. And if they get less attention, well then, good. And you might get better in new and unexpected ways. So that's a little bit about like what I do and how I operate. And again, I just wanted to kind of explain a little bit of what I do. I will be putting out more videos as time comes about different concepts, different things that'll be beneficial to Catholics. And if for whatever reason, if you find that you are somebody who wants to become more of who you are, if you in any way think that you can benefit from some of the stuff that we're talking about today, or know somebody who can, or somebody who's gone to therapy to other people and found very little benefit, well, maybe you think about giving me a call, and I'd be honored to work with whoever or to assist anybody in any way. And obviously, it's not just the Catholic faithful that I work with, although obviously I think that Catholics will find the approach that we take quite refreshing. And just remember, you are always infinitely more than your mistakes. Thank you, and God bless you.